So with true compassion, we can say to our sisters, dry your eyes, and greet them with these reassuring words that Bob Marley provided. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right, sister. Everything's gonna be all right. So sister, don't cry. We're right by your side. IBWPPI.
That was powerful. Today, we will discuss leadership in a global Black women's movement. And we're going to talk a little bit more about who our panelists are, this powerful group of women who are going to share their thoughts with you in just a moment.
Let us march on till victory is won.
Good afternoon, everyone. 2018 has been coined the Year of the Black Woman. Today, we'll talk about women in global leadership, and we have esteemed guests and panelists here from the highest levels of policymaking. So I'm sure you'll enjoy our panel. It's going to be informative, insightful, and leave you with action items. Thank you.
So our mission as an organization is to connect and advocate for Black women globally throughout the diaspora, through acts of kindness and public policy. Today, we have a power-packed panel full of women from across the world to represent the issues facing Black women and girls today. Our president, the co-founder of this illustrious organization, the International Black Women's Public Policy Institute. 10 years ago, Barbara had a vision of an organization that would provide the bridge of love and support across the oceans and seas that separate us.
That's what we were called to do. That's our work. We can do so much more when we lock our arms and our aims and our intention. And so that's why we've invited you today. The CBC Foundation sponsors this largest legislative body conference to come together. Within that, there's an opportunity for groups like ours to come in and share our work.
Well, I'm excited to jump right into this panel discussion, to hear from women from the highest levels of policymaking, sharing their views on developing a global platform for women to address the critical issues that are facing all of us across the African diaspora. So allow me to introduce our moderator, Vanessa K. DeLuca, creative consultant and former editor-in-chief of Essence magazine. Vanessa is an award-winning journalist and co-author of the best-selling beauty and empowerment book, Tyra Banks Beauty, Inside and Out.
I just want to thank you again for being here for this conversation. You know, we're here to talk about women in power, and so, of course, it makes sense to speak to powerful women.
I think women, though, have a natural resilience, and the female leaders who preceded me certainly were ones who were able to make a quantum leap in terms of getting the country behind them. But I think the challenge often is still within the smaller political community of your party. It is getting your party members to recognize, value, and support. And I think that we have had to be disruptors, just as a matter of course, for the survivorship of ourselves and also for the community. And what women bring to the table is that as you focus on the issues, particularly of social justice, that helps to bring your country forward, and you have to put to the foreground the issues of infighting.
I am now as an ambassador in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the ministry is led by a female foreign minister, a female permanent secretary. Women makes up just about 44% of the working force in Jamaica. The area of great concern for me personally is still in the area of business and finance. And I know for Jamaica recently we had a rating on the global level showing that we have one of the highest level of female managers in the world. So in the workplace, we are making great progress. But in terms of being entrepreneurs, in terms of being risk takers and going out and following your dream and building business and sustainable wealth, that is still an area that is, women are far behind.
I'm very disappointed in where we are personally as a country in terms of women's participation, particularly in politics. You know, women represent more than 50% of the electorate in the Bahamas. We have 4 members of parliament that are female. We have one female cabinet minister. In the Senate of 6, we have probably an even number. But, you know, the problem, and I suppose wherever you live and work, you have some of the same issues. You have to fight through your political party structure to be serious about what women can do. Women are doing well in the Bahamas in terms of their presence in being CEOs of companies. In the medical profession, I believe we have more women in leadership roles in the public service. So there is no question about what women can do in the Bahamas. But it's the politics. And I think, you know, I always tell this story that women don't like each other. You know, we always got to be questioning when someone looks good, well, how did they get there? And, you know, we are our own worst enemy. Particularly, I think, in very small communities. But as I talk to women all around the world, they say the same thing. You know, and I think that generally women need to want to support women in leadership roles. And I think that's a big problem.
One thing I want to say is this, and I think as this movement with the International Black Women's Public Policy, and we're forging ahead and looking at ways to bring a change to the issues that affect Black women all over the world. One thing I want you all to see for a second, and this is what my father taught me. He said, if you could play God for a minute and create the perfect leader of our time, what will this person look like? You will want this person to be wise. You will want the person to be able to comprehend many sides of complicated issues and create novel and innovative solutions to the problem. And you will want the perfect leader to be working for the good of the whole group, not just for the personal glory. And the perfect leader will inspire others by understanding their perspective and captivating their strengths and overcoming their weaknesses. And the perfect leader will persist until the job was done, even if it meant personal sacrifices. Guess what? You've just described a woman.
We compare the situation with women in the United States with women in these other countries, we find ourselves woefully lacking. When we look on the African continent as an example, many, even with the inequalities that you mentioned, sister, many countries have a ministry of women, which means that women's issues are dealt with. Instead, we have a president who grabs women. So, just saying. But in any case, we know that women's, even before, Hillary Clinton shattered some ceilings, but she was unable to prevail in this election. We have never seen a woman candidate quite so competitive as Hillary Clinton. We have never seen an African-American woman frankly, until Shirley Chisholm ran. And one of the things that we have to talk about when we talk about women in leadership in these United States is the intersectionality of race and gender and the extent to which white women are not always champions of black women. Indeed, I understand the notion of the system is whack. Yes, the system is whack, but we have an opportunity to affect the quality of our lives even in a whack system. When you have black people on boards of education, you have input as to what books are banned and which are not. And you know that our Toni Morrisons and our Alice Walkers have been banned in some cities. When you have black people on zoning boards, you have the right to determine whether or not some garbage disposal is going to be put in your neighborhood or someplace else.
I always love this week because, you know, all the grief that we go through over there on the Hill, thinking about the current situation that we face in our country, and it's so embarrassing in the world. You know, I travel, I get to go to Africa a lot, and it's like every time my plane lands, I'm apologizing because there's no telling what he tweeted while I was on the plane. I love when he created the new countries in Africa, Nambia and Zakia, and he was welcoming the African leaders, or what he had to say. You know, there is an office of the African Union here in Georgetown, and all 55 ambassadors meet once a month. And after he made his comments about the continent, I went over there and addressed all the ambassadors, and I apologized on behalf of all of us and said that, you know, we are sad that we do have a second-generation racist that is in the Oval Office who has demonstrated repeatedly that he is not stable. But, you know, this is the nature of our country right now. But we are 54 days away from an election. And every time you hear about an election, you hear it's the most important one in your lifetime. But I know we all believe it this time. You know, we might have blown it off before, but we believe it this time. And I know that each and every one of us is going to leave here and call every person we know, every person we're related to, and tell them that they have to turn out to vote. I think that's the critical thing that we need to do right now. And so I just want to welcome you here. I know that you've had a productive day and the rest of your panel will be well. I don't want to interrupt you any further. I do have to go back up on the Hill right now to vote against whatever is happening. Thank
you very much. This is a powerful panel. Thank you so much, Lisa Cagnalotti and Chanel. Where's Chanel? Is she still here? Thank you so much. Stand up again, please, for those who didn't see you earlier. One of our young ambassadors who really worked very hard to help coordinate this panel. To the board of the organization who supports the work that we do in committee format, support in the sense that they show up every single time. Thank you. Again, to this panel who've traveled, many of you from far, right, across the water to be here and be with us this week. Thank you so much. This is the beginning of a long road ahead of us. And what I love about every year is we gather more steam because we bring in more women, we hear your ideas, we sit together and we figure out how we're all gonna play in that sandbox together, how I'm gonna support you and you're gonna support me. And when we go into these countries, every March, we take a group of women away, abroad we say, to some country. We're now in 6 countries. And this March coming up, and the ambassador left, but she knows we've already had this conversation this morning. In March, we are going to Jamaica. And of course, you saw the ambassador to Jamaica here, the U.S. ambassador here, and we will be planning beginning next month to be in Jamaica in March. It's for members only. So I'm inviting you to join. When we get there, we will do our work. The agenda will emerge from your being at the table. That's how we do this.